Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid on a free transfer. Let's dive into it. Yeah, so Liverpool's 26-year-old vice-captain, generationally talented right-back, Trent Alexander-Arnold, born and bred in the city of Liverpool, West Derby, Liverpool fan, looks like he's going to be leaving Liverpool on a free transfer to join Real Madrid. This has basically been the worst kept secret in football. As much as I enjoyed Adidas's marketing campaign around them coming back to Liverpool, it's probably this. We've known about this for a long, long time. You know, at times it's been definitely done and at times it's been distant from, but this has felt the most likely. Of all the ongoing protracted contract negotiations that Liverpool are going through with their stars, this is the one that seemed the most complicated for a variety of reasons, but also the one most likely to end in him leaving Liverpool. And that's not to say I know any more about Salah or Van Dijk's situation. They may also leave, but that is another conversation for another day. I could do hours on all of this, and I have done already, and I'm sure there will be more hours to come. But I want to focus on Trent. The homegrownness of it makes it complicated because ultimately there are lived examples in relatively recent memory, certainly for people of my age, that you can point to. Steve McManaman had his nose put out of joint by the football club and they tried to sell him to Barcelona, ended up being a little bit of a pawn there. That fell through, runs his contract down, moves to Real Madrid. Michael Owen got a nominal fee for him, moved to Real Madrid. Steven Gerrard had his head turned by Chelsea, I think a couple of times, and then eventually was clawed back into the fold. And okay, he didn't finish his career at Liverpool. I think a lot of people have forgotten that when they're using the Gerrard example, but he did run down his major contract, played the vast majority of his career at Liverpool before having the little jollies over in the MLS to end things off. I think from a Scouse perspective, this is where the blame Trent camp really stems from, because from what I'm seeing online, from the people I'm speaking to in the streets and people in our office, and I think, you know, actually on my Facebook of people who I know, as opposed to a broad mood that I'm getting from somewhere like Twitter or YouTube comments, it feels like, it feels hurtful and annoyance coming from the Scouse side of things, because yeah, it feels like a personal attack when someone says they don't want to play for your football club anymore. Like, it hurt when Suarez didn't want to play for us and Torres didn't want to play for us. But ultimately, they didn't play for us before. They played for the football clubs. They came to us. There is a sort of cycle to football that you can somehow make your peace a little bit easier with footballers who aren't from the town, whereas there is obviously a greater connection there. We give them more. You feel a greater affinity for these footballers because you see some of yourself in them. Absolutely. If you go up on these streets, you feel a deeper connection. And I have this sometimes when people say to me, like, I go over the top defending Curtis Jones. I don't. I just think he's a good footballer. I think people are over the top criticising him, but I do get a greater sense of pride equally seeing someone from Liverpool play for Liverpool. I do, and I think everyone from the city feels that way, you know, and it's the same way that people from certain nationalities get a real kick out of seeing, you know, like Dominik Szoboszlai, like Hungarians get a great buzz out of seeing Szoboszlai play for Liverpool. I have that connection more to the city of Liverpool than I do to the country of England. And I think people are feeling that acutely. It's almost offensive to find that there's someone who has been given an opportunity that we would all kill for and then effectively turns it down or doesn't want it. Now, there is far more nuance to Trent's situation than simply that, of course, because, and where the Gerrard thing is really interesting, because that's the example that's being held up. And as mentioned, it's not like Gerrard actually retired at Liverpool. If that opportunity presented itself, absolutely, I'm sure he would have done. The thing that hung over Gerrard was he had the European Cup in the bag. Well, after turning down Chelsea the first time, he went on and won the European Cup. And after that, they won the FA Cup. And then they got to the final of the Champions League. And then they became competitive in the Premier League. And that chase for that elusive Premier League title was, I think, one of the things that kept Gerrard around. I mean, look, Alan Shearer was a far more successful footballer playing for Blackburn than he was playing for Newcastle, but that quest to try and end that huge trophyless barren wait was far more valuable to Alan Shearer playing for his hometown team. Some people are just like that. Trent's situation is complicated because he's done it all. He's completed football at Liverpool Football Club before he even hit his prime years. I mean, you're talking for me about the best right back that's ever played for Liverpool, the best right back that's ever played in the Premier League. And I think he's right up there in the conversation for the best right backs of all time. By the time his career finishes, he should be, and look, I think he's in it right now. I think he's up there with Cafu and Dani Alves and any you care to list of the all-time great right backs. However, and this is where we spin it to sort of Trent's perspective, and where I think it makes it complicated for him, I don't think he gets the respect, because I will say this, I've put it out on Twitter, and there'll be countless responses, and I've watched Trent's entire career. I've been there for some of the biggest moments that he's experienced on the pitch. I've been in the stadiums, I've experienced them, I've felt them, I've loved them. I've studied his career, I've studied Liverpool intensively, forensically for 15 years now. The amount of times I've said positive things about Trent on like every major television network in this country and some abroad, the biggest YouTube channels and all that kinds of podcasts. I've been everywhere and I've told the world that I think Trent is the best of the best. And the amount of sneer and disrespect I have had back from that, just for daring to put out what I think is not the most outlandish opinion ever, in terms of what that lad's been able to do, is unreal. What he's achieved, he's got the silverware and he's got the ability and he's got a unique skill set that most right backs that have played the game have never possessed, which is why I think he's up there. But the fact is, he's done all of that. He has all of those things going for him, and yet there are some people who still go,
he's crap because he can't defend.
I can't defend, so he's rubbish. There are people who just will not have it. They are not having Trent Alexander-Arnold as even a good right back, let alone the best of all time. And I just wonder whether that is a big thing that he's got in the back of his mind. Now, he did an interview with Harriet Pryor for Sky Sports, and he talked about this idea of legacy and being classed amongst them. Now, this is where we come into another camp, and this is the blame Real Madrid camp. So I was talking to Melissa Reddy a couple of months ago. We ran into each other at an airport. It's not important, but we were talking about the Liverpool situation and the contract situation. And she said to me, which is really interesting, that she'd been inside Real Madrid and they'd done a feature on their sort of playbook, their pitch to footballers and how they win footballers over and convince them to sign for Real Madrid. And what she said was, when Trent was talking through that, he was effectively almost verbatim reading from the Real Madrid playbook. That's how they sell it to footballers. They talk about winning Ballon d'Ors and becoming and being known as the best of the best in your position. I had considered that as a thing, but to hear someone say, no, that is absolutely how Real Madrid pitch things to footballers, it was fishy at the time, but to hear that corroborated, it was like ding ding, made perfect sense to me. Real Madrid have sold that dream to him. And if he believes that dream, part of me goes, okay, cool. I don't like it. I want to believe that he should be able to be considered the best right back in world football of all time by continuing to play for Liverpool. But the question is, if there are people who are literally, and you might say, which people? Who gives a shit about people? But, in terms of like legacy, it is about this universal opinion sometimes. There are people who, certain footballers just get accepted as absolute, like, generational superstars. I think the tribalism in English football damages footballers' hopes of that sometimes. Like, would Cristiano Ronaldo be held up quite as high if he'd stayed at Manchester United? Hey, maybe, but there is just something about going and doing it in that white shirt that certainly adds to the lustre of a footballer, as loath as I am to say it. But yeah, there must be a point where, like, and here's a good example of this. This season, I think Trent defensively has been excellent. I think he's been excellent. I think there are opportunities and times in games where players have beaten him. Of course, Jeremy Doku had so many situations where he got the better of Trent, but ultimately, Jeremy Doku does that every single week. You don't worry about stopping Jeremy Doku from dribbling past you. What you do is you stop what he does once he does that situation. That's how you shut him down. There's a reason why he doesn't have lots of goals and assists, but he's got tons of dribbles, because that's what he is as a footballer. I don't want to say one-trick pony, but like million-trick pony, but he's still a pony. So yeah, but it becomes fuel for an ongoing sort of narrative. If you think Trent is crap defensively, then nothing he does is ever going to change that, because he's never going to, I don't know, I think it's very difficult to win people over from being that, because he's not going to be Andy Robertson. He's not going to be that, like, heart on your sleeve, crunching tackle, become a bit of a yard dog for the team the way that James Milner became as his career kind of went on. That's not his skill set. His skill set is, often win the ball back with a little topo, come away with it and play the killer ball, change the state of the football match in a way that most of the right backs in the world, in fact, no other right backs in the world really can do. People can throw names, of course you can, but look at the output that he's had over the years. No one really comes close, and that's why he ends up, for me, in the conversations with Cafu and Dani Alves. But this is the point. Trent has been very good defensively, but has it stopped people? You know, if you think Trent is crap defensively, do you think he's had a good season defensively? Because if you don't, you're wrong. He has had a really good, look at the metrics. He's had a much better season defensively. But actually, it's kind of limited his game. And this is another interesting point when it comes back to the nuance of Trent's situation. Slot ball. He's looked at what's there, and I do wonder a little bit where last season, I think, or the season and a half prior to Klopp leaving, we started to see him inverting. You know, the way Liverpool played needed to change naturally. Had it been figured out, had football moved on a little bit? Yeah, I certainly think it had. Liverpool gained so much of their creativity from wide areas. Trent's talent needed to have a team built around it, basically. And I think under Klopp, we were doing that. Under Slot, far less so. He's being asked to be much more of a traditional right back and then find opportunities to add upon on top of that to do the things that he's really good at. And when he's done it really well, my God, he's done it excellently for Liverpool this season. There is no doubt in my mind, for as much as I think Conor Bradley is exceptional, what a talent he's going to be. And I think even like Gomez has done a good job of fullback, Quanta's done a good job of fullback. Liverpool are a much better team with Trent at right back. There's no doubt. There is no doubt about that. But he's not won over any of his critics, which matters because, again, this court of public opinion is huge in terms of creating a legacy. But again, is he truly enjoying the way that he plays? I think he wanted to maybe transition towards midfield. Slot's not entertained that at all. And look, rightly so, to some extent. He's played his entire career at right back. Just be the best right back he can be. I think that's admirable, and maybe he's settled upon that. But that is definitely a consideration. Liverpool's creativity comes more from midfield now than it does from the wide areas. Does Slot just want? Does he want the archetypal right back? Because I'll ask the question to you: what is a right back? What is an expectation? Now, different clubs do it differently, and there's so many different iterations on it. But I would suggest that in your mind, you've got somebody who wins his tackles, doesn't get caught out at the back post with long balls or crossfield passes or whatever, and has got a good engine to get up and down. I think that's the broad expectation, and then that's how you end up with a world where Reece James is seen as the best of the best, or Kyle Walker is seen as absolutely brilliantly, because they are demonstrably, you can understand what they do, you can wrap your head around them as fullbacks. I mean, Kyle Walker was very lax, even at his peak defensively, but he had so much recovery pace. He could get out of jail and get himself out of situations. I think Reece James was, prior to all the injuries, was exceptional. But Trent sits on an island for me in terms of a truly unique talent that needs to be allowed to flourish more than those other guys. Those guys for me are, I think Andy Robertson falls more into that category. One of the best left backs that we've seen in the Premier League. I think he should be counted amongst that. But is he a generational global talent? World class? For Scotland, yes, but beyond that, probably no. So that is the sort of awkward situation with that. And the Trent never truly fits an archetype, but the best players, the best of the best, don't fit archetypes. They create archetypes, they create roles for themselves. They have games named after them and positions named after them. And they draw the sort of plaudits for their unique skill set. They make you reconsider your notions of what a particular type of player can be. And that's what Trent is and can be. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this particular take. Do you think that Arne Slot just wants fullbacks? And this where we come back to the sort of Liverpool situation. My big fear with this is that I think Trent is so good. The worst case scenario for me almost is, I would hate to think that Liverpool have messed this up. I would hate to think that somebody's just got this wrong. Now, someone definitely got this wrong by having him have his contract run out age 26. That's stupid. That is a level of mismanagement, and we're similar with the Salah and the Van Dijk things. And there has been so much upheaval in Liverpool's sort of hierarchy, from the players upwards to the upper echelons and the owners, because the chair and director of football, Michael Edwards leaving, Julian Ward leaving, Eurgh basically coming in as a bit of a fixer for Klopp and just getting deals across the line rather than being a genuine DOF, has led to a build-up of this situation. And And then now Richard Hughes has been handed, here's your new job, deal with the biggest contract crisis this football club's ever faced. Yeah, all the best, mate, good luck. So yeah, look, there is clear blame and mismanagement, but there have been contract offers, clearly, to Trent over the last year or so. I would genuinely hate it that we were going to lose a player of his calibre with that connection to the football club because the offer was derisory, or it was the way. Now I've heard rumours that said he's been offered more than Real Madrid are going to be paying him. I looked, and I think Danny Carvajal's on about 250 grand, between 220 grand and 250 grand, roughly speaking, a week, which would be a big push for Liverpool. That would still make him the second top highest earner at the football club, I think. Yeah, I think that would, ahead of Virgil van Dijk. Now, this is where it comes back to Liverpool, and I know this has been one of Chris's big arguments when we've been debating this over the year. What's a right back worth? Now, I honestly don't know, because when someone is that talented, my opinion is just keep really talented footballers at your football club for as long as you can. We've been doing that. We've been offering new contracts time and time again. We've kept the best players at the club almost past their sell-by dates in a couple of instances, to the point where we couldn't get resale value and we had to let them leave on a free. That's happened before, but we extracted all the juice, got the juice and put it out on the pitch and made Liverpool competitive with it. So could Trent just be that again? Just give him what he wants and have him play for Liverpool for more years? That makes perfect sense to me. But I do wonder what the threshold is, and is there a world where is he a 350 grand a week footballer? Should Trent Alexander-Arnold, at 26 years old, he's at the age bracket where he should be. 26-year-olds who are already best in class in their position, and they're playing for the boyhood club, and they've actually grown their contracts year on year, should be the top earners of the club. If he was Steven Gerrard, age 26, he would be the top earner at Liverpool Football Club without a shadow of a doubt. But therein lies the problem. Do you get value for money for that? And I wonder whether, is this a flaw in how Liverpool are run? I don't know. I know there's a lot of very smart people who work in those departments. You've just got to read Ian Graham's book to look at how they calculate these kind of things. But that's a little bit of a question mark. There's almost a spreadsheet of what it's worth paying positions, and ultimately the lads who earn the most money for you are the most indispensable and the ones that win the most football matches for you. And for me, that's why Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah definitely should be amongst the highest earners, because they are absolutely clutch, lynch, central footballers to making your team as successful as humanly possible. And ultimately, one of the midfielders will hopefully rise to that challenge in the coming years as well. They're all in that sort of soon to break out age as well. Could it be Szoboszlai? Could it be Jones? McAllister's probably in that conversation, and certainly Gravenberch, if he carries on his development, could be in that. But yeah, it makes sense to me. The lads who are going to add significant numbers, either by keeping them out or by putting them in, they should be your highest wage earners. And if Liverpool's system doesn't totally rely now on the creativity from the fullbacks, has that been marginalised? And therefore, if you were just looking at it coldly as a spreadsheet, and I know that's tough to do because we're fans, and I hate talking about it in some regards, but I know there are a lot of fans who do think this way. The people who are best at Football Manager think this way. That's why I'm terrible at Football Manager, because I love my players too much. But would you look at it and say, could that budget be apportioned better to somewhere else that's going to be more decisive on the pitch? If you can get a full season, let's say, out of Conor Bradley, and then spend that extra 150 grand a week in wages on getting a world-class centre forward, or a world-class number 10, or a world-class number 6, or a world-class centre half, or another world, etc., etc., would that be a better way to do it? That's how I think they're doing it. I'm not comfortable with that. I just want these players to stay. Now, okay, what it boils down to is I don't know. So I don't know enough about all this, and I know everyone's got to have the hottest of hot takes. I don't really agree with the Trent to Rat thing. I think it could have been handled better. And that's why I think a lot of the annoyance comes from as well. He should have just come out at some point during the season and said, I'm going to see this season out and I'm going to decide my future at the end. Or if something was agreed, come out and say, listen, I've won it all from my boyhood club. I've had the best time of my life. I've grown up here, but I just fancy a new challenge. I do. It would hurt, but I think people might have been able to respect that. The problem now that it's all out, that it's all coming out, he's not been able to get ahead of it. And I know they've kind of taken the Faragian, Trumpian approach to Just get your head down, let it get on, and the news cycle will eventually roll around and people will forget. I don't think the people of Liverpool will forget. And what is happening here is, having not gotten ahead of the story, you've let people create an opinion, and some people will cling on to that opinion of him forever. What he's gambling with in that regard, and we're already seeing it, he's gambling with legacy. In reaching out for that legacy and that lasting global football legacy of trying to be shoulder to shoulder with Cafu and Dani Alves and God knows how many great footballers ever to play the game, has he set fire to his legacy in the city and with the football club? Quite possibly. And look, he could go on and be a stupendous success at Real Madrid. I'm not having this, he'll just be a bit part player. It might be, it happens. It happens to great players. It happened to Michael Owen. Never got the respect at Real Madrid, and it ended up being a bit of a flop, even though his goal return was pretty good. Steve Mismanagement was never the star of that Real Madrid team, but he also more than held his own in a team full of Galacticos, and it will be remembered fondly amongst the Real Madrid fans for it. I don't know. It feels daft to me, but ultimately there is no good way to leave Liverpool Football Club, because the only way to leave Liverpool Football Club on good terms with the fans is often to be crap. The players that we're most forgiving of leaving Liverpool are the players that we disliked or were rubbish. Yeah, I think that's the long and short of it. Luis Suarez, devastated when Luis Suarez left, because it was basically saying that Liverpool weren't good enough to fulfil his ambitions. Sterling was another one like that. He went and won a string of medals and silverware after it. It absolutely stung, but it hurt more because, again, he was saying Liverpool can't, I'm better than Liverpool, and not one of us wants to live in a world where there's a single footballer who is more bigger or thinks he is or even proves he's bigger than Liverpool Football Club. So that's always a consideration on my part. The homegrown connection will certainly deepen it. I do wonder, when Gerrard wants to leave, is there the same level of clamour? People were up in arms when Gerrard wanted to leave, so much that he had his head turned, not just by the club, but by the fan base. There was so much pressure on him. I'm not feeling that pressure. I'm feeling anger towards him. And maybe it's because there's an acceptance that it's done already, but it felt like, Gerrard to Chelsea was very, very done. He was in negotiations. We knew it was happening. It was during a transfer window. Yeah, I really don't know. This is why I don't really want to jump too heavily into any camp, if I'm being broadly honest. And where I kind of come round to it is, and I'm seeing this from a lot of my artistic musician mates and actor mates and all that, who are kind of saying, if he wants to try something new in his life, let him. Honestly, I do kind of feel that way. I would like someone from Liverpool to be. I want someone from Liverpool to go and be the best of the best. I do. It galls me. It sins me. It is an absolute gut punch. That is that possible at Liverpool? I really honestly don't know. I worry that it's not. And if it's not, then what can Liverpool owners do to make sure that Liverpool are that you can win Ballon d'Ors at Liverpool and you can be, classed as the best of all time? That's a huge thing that needs to be considered. But on a human level, I've got no problem with someone. I think he's given us all for Liverpool. He's won everything for Liverpool. There's nothing missing. There's no more when Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. He's done it all. I can understand being 26 and wanting to try a new language and a new culture and go and be with your mate Jude over there. Devastated about that we thought Trent was going to win Bellingham over. When you gaze into the abyss gazes into you also, as it transpires. But look, yeah, from a human level, and also he's a grown-up. He's a grown man. He can ultimately do what he wants. But if he makes the decision, as it looks like he has done, to leave Liverpool, he has gambled, and he will never be considered quite the star and quite the legend. His efforts won't be forgotten. He will still, I think, in time, people will soften and remember the good things that he did. But he is giving up on an opportunity to be a Mount Rushmore Liverpool player, to try and be a Mount Rushmore footballer. And I do fear that I think that's a huge ask at Real Madrid in a team that's got Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham in. Can he get to parity with them? Cool. And maybe he wants that challenge. Maybe he wants the challenge of being the best footballer in a team full of brilliant footballers. Eurgh is one of them in a team like that at Liverpool. yeah, I'm just a bit sad, if I'm being honest. How are you feeling about it? Who do you blame? Because look, it's football. Everyone's got to be to blame. There's got to be good guys and there's got to be bad guys at all times, because that's how we've been conditioned to analyse football over the years. But do you appreciate the nuance on it? Can you see why he would want to? Or is it just PR rat or just shitly run football club? Let me know in the comments below. I think I've covered most of everything I wanted to say. I get it. I understand why he might want to. Not that I know that's definitely why he might want to. I don't know. I think all of us as Liverpool fans would rather just play our whole careers at Liverpool. But there we have it. Anyway, drop a like, subscribe. Check out last week's vlog. It was great. I spoke to actual Liverpool legends. Loads of them who've left the football club who were really good guys. Had a boss time behind the scenes at LFC TV Press Box. Spoke to Jibril Cisse and Ryan Babel doing a new episode of Player Portraits for AXA, and went to the Legends game as well. I'll link to that. Enjoy that one. And if you're on half price of a year of Redmen Plus as well, then use the code Maych on a Captain yearly subscription. Thank you so much. Up the Reds. Down. Free contract leavers. Boo.